Toy Story 4 being in theaters, I thought it would be a great time to rank all the films in the Toy Story franchise. So if you have not seen Toy Story 1, 2, 3, or 4, you are missing out on some awesome animation and some great Pixar magic. So go watch those films because this video will contain spoilers. Let's dive on in. So at number 4 is Toy Story 2. This is simply just in last because one movie had to be in last. It's not a bad movie by any stretch of imagination. It has a little bit of a weak story, but it has a more broader tone to it, introducing these new characters, packing true emotion into this movie, even after the first movie knocked it out of the park. And even when people, deep down in their hearts, they know this isn't a perfect sequel. It's not the best, but it is a really good entry into these films. And Jessie's story with, that whole little montage of her being forgotten and just being a lost toy and just being just so full of emotion, regarding her backstory. And the villain in Stinky Pete, he is the weakest villain, in my opinion, in the franchise. But he does serve as a compelling villain as you understand his motives and why he wants Woody to go to the museum with them. And Jessie is a really fun character. She's honestly one of my favorite characters in the entire franchise, and our relationship with Woody and Bullseye and everything was great. And Buzz's side mission has some great hijinks with Potato Head, Ham, Rex. Everybody gets a moment. At number 3 is Toy Story 3. This is basically a prison break film, which is it's a very different tone, obviously, for a Toy Story film. Lotso is one of the creepiest, most diabolical villains in the entire franchise, and in Pixar as a whole, one of the most diabolical villains in Pixar history. And we get some great characters in here like Ken. The aliens get a moment to shine when they save Woody. And speaking of that final act, they actually make you believe that they are going to burn all of our main lead characters in one of the most filled moments in the entire franchise, and a moment that actually made me very fearful to watch another movie because I just thought these toys got so close to death in this one. What makes us so sure they won't die in the next movie? As a young kid, I was thinking about that. And, this closes out the Andy saga, sort of, or the Andy trilogy. And we thought this was the end, but of course, Toy Story 4 came out. And, this was just a perfect way to wrap up their adventures with Andy. At number 2 is the original Toy Story. Pixar has some amazing, amazing magic. And that magic was shown when they came out in, the 90s with this great entry into that 90s animation era where we had so many different animation that nobody really expected. It was all flashy and sort of, and while it has it's actually really aged well, except for Bug's Life. It's the one that's aged the worst out of all the Pixar films, but this movie has aged considerably well. The story about Buzz, being a toy that doesn't know he's a toy, and provides great hijinks with Woody. And this is the movie that introduced me to Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, who are by far one of my favorite actors. And honestly, Tim Allen is very underrated. Tom Hanks is awesome, especially when he's he's in roles like Forrest Gump, and when he's in Saving Private Ryan, Captain Phillips, great roles like that. And this introduced me to a set of characters that I never thought would be so compelling, in a story that I didn't think was going to be so interesting about these toys that have come to life that are, smart and thinking. But I loved it, and it still holds up. But at number 1, in my opinion, is Toy Story 4. This movie is so good. Y'all need to see it right now. I am telling you, I was crying during Endgame. I was bawling during this movie. There are so many moments, like the smallest little moments, like the beginning with Woody trying to save RC desperately, and then just to end up losing Bo Peep in the process, of her moving on to a different kid. And, we have so many different characters in this movie, and great characters, whether you're talking about Keanu Reeves, Duke Kaboom, Gabby Gabby, who's obviously, or in my opinion, the most compelling and interesting, and by far my favorite Toy Story villain that we've ever had. And you end up rooting for her by the end of the film, as she is discarded like nothing in front of this girl that she's tried to impress and get loved by for years now. And then you have Forky, who is a very interesting and complex character, and a very, very different thing for Toy Story to tackle. A non-essential thing becoming essential, as if they didn't tackle that already, but they tackled it from a different angle and from a completely different perspective with Forky. And then, of course, you have Key and Peele's characters, Ducky and Bunny, who provide some very fun hijinks along the way. And I just thought that the conclusion to this story was absolutely fantastic. And they opened it up where they could make a fifth one, because they talk about, the carnival moving and how Bo Peep and Woody and all of them are going to, use it to move on to a different place. They could do something with 5 if they do make a 5, where, the carnival ends up going to Bonnie's town and Woody's there and everything, and meets up with the gang. But this movie is full of emotion, and seeing Woody say goodbye to Buzz and everybody was heartbreaking. So that was my ranking video for all the Toy Story movies. Let me know what your ranking was. Do you guys have a different opinion? Have you seen Toy Story 4 yet? You guys need to see it. It's amazing, and you will cry. Bring tissues. Well, I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye, y'all.